Habitat. Alabama's most crucial natural resource is facing new challenges in the 21st century. Urban sprawl and growing human populations are changing the landscape. All across the Southeast, wild places are disappearing and wildlife is being stretched to the limit. For over 70 years, hunters and anglers have carried the responsibility of wildlife conservation through the purchase of hunting and fishing licenses. Today, the need for conservation is greater than ever, and we need your help. You can do your part and make it count through the purchase of a wildlife heritage license.
Funding sources for the state come from several ways. License sales are a big piece of that, but through those license sales, it opens up opportunities for the state agencies in Alabama to receive funding from the federal government. The hunters and the anglers, when they go buy products, shotgun shells, rod and reels, lures, pay a surcharge tax. We in the Fish and Wildlife Service collect that at the national level, and we allocate that back out to the states. State game and fish agencies probably couldn't get by without having that sort of source, but it's a matching fund. The Fish and Wildlife Service monies that are provided are usually 75% of what is necessary, and the other 25% has to come from the state, and the state brings that in through the sales of licenses.
When you purchase a wildlife heritage license, that money is increased fourfold through matching federal funds.
In Alabama, we have people who hunt and fish, and they consume resources, and we have people who just enjoy riding down the road and looking at a bird with a pair of binoculars, and they don't consume anything. We all have a vested interest in protecting our habitat because warblers require habitat just like wild turkeys require habitat. And so everybody enjoys and benefits from clean air, clean water, green space, and it needs to be managed properly. And it takes funds to manage habitat.
Everybody benefits from the wildlife in the state of Alabama. And how do you contribute to that? Because it does take money, it does take effort to try and manage those wildlife. Hunters and fishermen have been doing it for years. And the non-consumptive users, the bird watchers, the people that hike and enjoy the outdoors, I think they've been looking for a way to contribute to wildlife conservation in the state of Alabama. And so this is an opportunity for them. They can buy a license. I think it's only $10, and those proceeds will go back to putting management on the ground and ensuring that there's a place in the future for wildlife in the state of Alabama.
When you purchase an Alabama Wildlife Heritage license, you're making a difference. You're being counted into the formula that brings federal matching dollars into Alabama, but there is more.
This is a really important opportunity to have the department have the tools and the funding to broaden the base of their management and restoration activities. In the past, hunters and fishermen have provided the bulk of the funding for the department. This will allow for a broadening to protect all the species.
So why should a person who's a bird watcher purchase a wildlife heritage license?
Because they must understand that we don't have birds if we don't have habitat. And we don't have habitat unless it's managed properly. And it takes funds to manage the habitat.
One effort underway by the Department of Conservation is to restore and protect Alabama's diversity of aquatic animals, such as snails and mussels. So why should a person who paddles a canoe or kayak purchase a wildlife heritage license?
The Alabama Aquatic Biodiversity Center is an innovative approach to restoring the historically rich populations of aquatic animals that Alabama is blessed with. And it benefits Alabama citizens through restoring our streams to have free-flowing waters, which benefit us for recreational purposes, whether it be fishing, whether it be kayaking, canoeing. They filter the water, provide cleaner water to us for our drinking water, and a host of other specific benefits.
Why should you buy a wildlife heritage license?
I believe that there are a lot of conservationists out there that care about the natural resources, that want to help, but because they don't hunt or fish, they're not contributing to the license sales within the state of Alabama so that it can be used in that formula. The importance of this one is it allows the photographer, it allows the bird watcher, gives them an opportunity to say, I know that this isn't free. I know that somebody has to pay for this, and I care about it. I'm a conservationist, and I want to help.
We have a rich history of success all across the country and certainly in the Southeast in terms of managing very rare and endangered wildlife, bringing them back from the edge of extinction. Most recently, the bald eagle. I mean, one of the most exciting stories that this country's ever seen. It was listed as endangered many years ago. A variety of reasons, habitat loss, pesticides, a lot of things that were happening across the landscape. We all put a lot of effort, a lot of resources toward bringing back the eagle, and just this past year, we took it off the endangered species list. What a huge success story. Everybody needs to do their part, and if we are successful, we'll have wildlife, we'll have this great diversity in the future for all of our kids.
Did you know that the first $500,000 of revenue from the sale of the heritage license must be spent on wildlife research?
If we had some choice on where that funding would be spent on that first $500,000 generated from the licenses on research, I would say we probably need to make sure that we know where the best remaining habitat examples are in the state and that shelter these species that need conservation attention, the non-game species. There's such a fantastic blueprint laid out by the department in their newly adopted comprehensive conservation plan for Alabama that I would say I would look to that plan for guidance on where to spend those first funds.
If you don't hunt or fish, why should you buy a wildlife heritage license?
If we are to succeed as a society, we have to make sure that conservation is one of society's values. It's not just something we do for recreation. It's part of our value system.
As director of the Nature Conservancy's Alabama chapter, I would urge all the Nature Conservancy members and members of Audubon societies and other conservation groups who care about our rich natural heritage to consider buying one of these licenses, because this is a tangible way that the department can respond.
All of us are affected by the environment in which we live, and ultimately it's you and me who are responsible for what we pass on to our children.
The future generations are going to judge us by our actions. They're going to either say, what were they thinking? They consumed it all, and they left us with nothing. Or they're going to thank you for managing habitat properly. And so people have a choice. Birders, non-birders, everybody has a choice.
You have a choice. Help us to conserve Alabama's wild things and wild places. Purchase a wildlife heritage license and pass it on.